lot of the physical damage coming out, not necessarily just from the Unleash from the Marcy herself, but also just tossing the Frost Shield onto someone. So heavily reduces the amount of physical damage that they're taking. I wonder if Hokori might look to go into something. It's not exactly in Lumiere's wheelhouse, but something like a Lone Druid isn't terrible. They just go the Morphling. I mean, completely understandable, right? One of the strongest heroes of this patch, and now they're just going to look to ban out everything that's going to be super strong against it in lane. Lich is fine, but I want to see... I want to see like actually ban out the AA when there's already been a Lich picked up, which is a little bit odd. But
so you mentioned that you feel like the way to address the Morphling at the moment is just to have a lineup that pretty much ends the game before it really comes online. Is that true late game carry?
Yep.
Do we feel like there's some heroes in particular we need to be looking at for PSG.LGD to help push the tempo and try and take this before the Morphling is that scary foe?
Well, I was looking for Lone Druid for Hokori before they actually picked up the Morphling, and I think it's not a terrible pick for either, right? You are able to soak up a lot of damage because Morphling really doesn't do too much in the super early parts of the game. It's not something that you are relying on stealing away the attack damage. Like, one of the big reasons why Morphling is strong is because the Aghanim Scepter, right? Or play the Lone Druid. You might be an Agi hero, but you're not really stealing away the Lone Druid's attacks. You're there that does a lot of the attacking. And I feel like it would pick up the pace enough that you're able to deal with this Hokori lineup early while it's still a fact.
Something that is definitely in the wheelhouse of Arme. Seen him run up multiple times before.
What is it in the wheelhouse of Arme?
That's a very good question. It is an individual that has been around for quite a long time, and when you play as much Dota as what Arme does, I'm sure you'll pick up some heroes to add to the repertoire.
Now, I do have to ask, with this Morphling being picked up, if Xinkyu dies, you think he's going to be spamming the "you're all washed up" emote? Because, you know, Xinkyu washing his face, clearly it was very clean, squeaky clean in that game #1, of course getting the MVP, but if things don't work out too well, that's going to cause a little bit of that doubt to creep into the mind.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if the voice lines get spammed or not. Could be a beautiful time to be able to do it. What do you make out of the Bloodseeker ban? Is this protecting something that is eventually going to come out here for Hokori?
I mean, potentially that Leshrac, honestly, that they picked up right there, and you just see what a band by LGD, really protecting Nothing to Say this time around. This hero that's able to pick up the tempo from the mid lane, Pango go into the defusal, heavily reduces Lesh's impact, also with the Rolling Thunder, free BKB on the Lesh, not too much you can do, Invoker, Mana Burn as well, Bat Rider, pretty decent time in the lane. Really like this Leshrac pick. I think it accomplishes everything that you need to against a Morphling. It's just about having someone else that's going to be able to turn around onto this Marcy when she eventually makes that jump.
What if Hokori going to consider going into the Conquer again? And look, had a relatively decent game, but it is a nice way to address the Leshrac, a natural BKB builder that buys it very, very early on as well, which is important against the early game fights that Lesh likes to show up to. And the X is a great way to be able to deal with him throughout some of the team fights as well, considering how fast-paced he is. But it's going to be a Zeus for Hokori, so taking something out of the look of what we saw from PSG.LGD in last game.
Might be a 5 Clockwork. That's what you need pairing together with a Morphling. You're just not able to trade in lane at all, and so I feel like they're just throwing out the Clockwork there. Has a decent enough time against the Tiny. You match him in terms of movement speed and are able to harass him relatively well, and yeah, in the mid game, I feel like this Zeus Marcy Clockwork is going to be able to do enough against the Leshrac pushing through in terms of burst damage that they might be able to respond to this. I really want Hokori to pick up something like a Visage here, their last pick. I think it's going to be really decent. They're not showing it just yet because you're not 100% confirmed of what Arme is going to be picking, but Visage Marcy into a Lich +1 lane seems pretty good for me, and LGD actually are the ones to pick it up first, realizing how strong it could have potentially been for Hokori and not wanting to waste a ban just yet.
This is really setting up a lineup here from LGD where they can push the tempo, and we were saying that's kind of something that they had to do versus the Morphling. Unless with an edict to be able to take objectives, you've got the Visage as well with the familiars, and there's going to be a lot of damage mitigation too to keep in mind. You know, I imagine that Faith Beyond's going to go for the Wraith Pack. You'll have also the Frost Shield as well to try and mitigate a lot of the damage from the Morphling. Tiny can be pretty beefy, not against the Zeus in particular, but against the Ryan Clicks, even Lesh can itemize defensively. A Bloodstone or even maybe a Hood if you feel Zeus is an issue. So we might see some issues with the Hokori actually being able to kill some of the members on Dire.
And this lane, like last lane was LGD with the Enigma and the Tiny. Honestly, Visage Tiny is pretty similar, right? Because you know 100% what role this Clockwork is playing. He is going to be the one that sticks out there and makes sure to soak up a lot of that damage, enable the Morphling to have a good time in the laning phase. If he's just going out using the Battery Assault, that starts ticking up the Soul Assumption pretty damn quickly. And with the burst coming through from the Tiny, you can look to nuke him down very early on and start to pressure the...
Doesn't even matter where the hero is. If you take it against the Illusion, then it will even slow down their attack speed. But concerned that the heroes are unable to address kind of the fast tempo and the Illusions, considering they are very single target, exception of the Zeus.
I think Illusions are still relatively good, and they do end up banning out that Lone Druid, like the ban. I mean, again, with a Morphling, it's just about making sure that you want a really solid Aghanim Scepter target, right? And these three heroes, the Lone Druid,
into the 3. Vitalis here is still we played. We're a stat 5, so it doesn't particularly show too much.
Probably an off-lane Marcy then.
This, I will say, just with the potential of it being picked up, I think it's a pretty good anti-mage game. They might just look to avoid it because you want to end the game early. But the Lesh and Visage could secure the early game and just enable the anti-mage to free farm. Army likes the hero, and I think it matches up very well versus what Hokori have. But they can also go down the route of just a carry that can really group up with the Lesh and the Visage early. So I think
I prefer a Faceless Void as opposed to an anti-mage. I think it's going to be pretty good at just catching out some of these heroes like Zeus, pretty squishy. If you can get onto him, no save, and your timings are just much earlier than the anti-mage, right?
Yeah, I think the matchup versus Zeus is nice. See what the call is going to be. Again, you mentioned before, Army has got probably one of the biggest hero pools in regards to the carries, so this guy can pull anything out of the hat.
Please no anti. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see some copycats in my pubs just thinking, if Army can do it, so can I. Well, there's a reason. He's a TI, this man. I think it's just a little too slow for mine, right? You've gone all out into this early-ish game draft. Lich tends to drop off once those BKBs start to come out. Visage, same sort of deal. Leshrac, not as much. I think the Bloodstone Lesh is ridiculously OP.
Faceless Void.
I like it. You know, pick off early-ish timings. All you really need is the Maelstrom, and this is the Aghanim Shard pickup, I'm sure, coming through from Arme. You don't really want to take Roche unless it's super free, right? But I think they're just going to put a lot more emphasis onto towers, and I think LGD might have this one.
Gives you a big team fight advantage, doesn't it, here for PSG.LGD?
Yep.
With the Chronosphere, which you didn't really have that before. I mean, Shinkyu, I suppose, and Hokori for themselves. I mean, your team fight really coming down to the Snapfire and maybe the burst from the Zeus as well. So I do think Morphling matches up very well versus the Faceless Void. Chrono is not a threat because the Aghanim Shard and the Scepter is very good again versus an Agi carry like the Void who needs to be right-clicking. So if you're looking for a one-to-one core matchup, I think it's very Morphling favored. But it's a 5v5 game, and we still have some big issues with how PSG.LGD can just look to end the game very early with the lineup they have.
It does slow down the Aghanim Scepter timing though if you go into the Shard, even though it's a fantastic Shard game, right? Literally every single hero on LGD's side has lockdown, so I think it's almost a must-buy coming through here for Lumiere. But I'm gonna think on the bright side for Hokori here, because with that Faceless Void kick, with all the effective bans that they did, this is an Agi hero that is reliant on his right-click damage. So if you can get to that Aghanim Scepter timing, Hokori have a really good shot. I'm just worried that it's the Faceless Void being picked up instead of something like an Anti-Mage, for example. They're going to have the extra amount of lockdown and teamfight impact to be able to get kills onto these key heroes like the Morphling, slow down his farm while taking towers at the same time. And for that reason, I'm going LGD.
I think this is going to be a really nice testing ground for PSG.LGD as well, with how they can look to address the Marcy. Because, again, they obviously let it through with a strategy where they instantly went Kleiner and Lich. So if they're able to beat this Marcy, it could, in the later stage of the tournament, give them an opening to potentially let it through the pool, which really helps out a lot in your drafting. If you don't have to be as worried instantly first banning a hero, then your drafts just open up drastically. So I think this is going to be another nice thing to see how they can deal with the position 3 Marcy.
We'll see how it works out, right? We've seen Marcy work from basically every single position except maybe mid lane, right? So just to be able to give yourself, like you mentioned, that draft flexibility is going to go a long way towards LGD and their chances, but I think there's a reason it's banned all the time. It is a ridiculously busted hero, and who knows, maybe Hokori have a super good laning stage and are able to, on the back of a couple of stuns, once they hit their level 2 timings, get some kills up here onto probably the Lich, a bit less likely for it to be the Faceless Void, but it's still going to be super good. Mixing the lanes a little bit as well, aren't they? It's like you've got Marcy and Snapfire going into the safe lane for now. Go up against that Visage. I'm actually feeling a lot more confident with this from Hokori, right? 2 heroes that have 1 and 2 armor because you bought the Ring of Protection coming through on Xingqiu. So smart buys, lots of stats, lots of armor, or 2 incredibly squishy heroes. So we'll see if it pays off for Hokori. I think this is probably the best thing that they could have done in this situation.
Do you think a big reason is because both the cores are going to have a better time in the lane, or because specifically they want one core to get a little bit more farm that he wouldn't have prior?
I think it's just about slowing down LGD. You know, if they're able to hit their level timings and then get in onto Faith Beyond, it doesn't really matter if Xingqiu is still getting some farm in exchange. He actually popped the mango by mistake while at full mana there, so I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself about that, where he was going for the Sentry Ward instead. But it just means that you slow down the time, right, and you allow the Morphling to come up. If you're not having to deal with these familiars super early on, then your towers survive for so much longer.
And it looks off to a very good start in this mid lane versus the Lash. A lot of her harassment onto, not going to say early, now being able to pick up a little bit of the advantage that we saw the Zeus prior. There was a bottom lane, Faith Beyond. Jeez, Xian, a couple more right clicks of Vitalik gets that kick in from the tree line. So beautifully done. This is all off the back of the lane swap that we saw. So the fact that they already have the level 2s to play with, as soon as the Visage comes back down to the lane, we might see Hokori try and make another kill attempt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's even just off the back of things like the Olakor has 4 denies. Like, that actually influences the lane so much, because you hit your level 2 timing, you instantly go for the kill. LGD aren't able to do anything about it. They saw that the tree grab had been leveled up, so there's not going to be any stuns to stop that dive attempt. Any silver linings coming through from LGD, the lane pushing in reasonably well for them, and they weren't able to block up that hard camp, so Xingqiu is going to have the luxury of playing around that one, but looks like the Olakor might make a pull of his own happen on this bottom side. Xingqiu, wisely enough, interrupting that one there. So this is it. You just got to make space for Faith Beyond to get his early levels and farm, because, like I was saying before, you do have kill threat. It just depends on your timings. I think they're going to be waiting for level 3 on LGD now. Try and get 2 points in the Soul Assumption, perhaps.
Oh. Why always gets it?
Ooh, don't get yourself cancelled.
Oh no, not the soul.
You get a here on the bottom side with the Olakor. Maybe even secure the bounty room for himself. Again, basically trading in the mid lane. It's what we come to expect. Both of these mid laners love buying magic stick, just to make sure that they're able to continuously spam their abilities. A couple of points in the lightning storm this time around, just the 4-second cooldown. Both of them are going to be able to get out of this laning stage with a decent.
And there's also both mid laners that don't particularly make a lot of rotations as well. Zeus might have some early involvement, just thanks to the level 6 if it comes out at decent timing. See Clockwork just going to deny himself, and also top lane Lumiere taking a lot of harassment as well. Besides, we'll be chilling for the moment. So yeah, I think with the mid laners, Power Rune's always going to be nice here if they're able to pick that up. Regen, Arcane, of course, very beneficial, potentially haste, but Analog's really, his involvement's going to come to the 6, and maybe nothing to say once he gets more points in the Edict, can start to consider about making rotations.
Yeah, a couple of odd things. Oh, they're actually going to go on to Y on the top side. He's back far enough that he's going to be able to get away. Let's have a look at this, securing both water runes. This is where LGD just made a really smart movement coming through from Xinkyu. And I thought with that death on Gardic, I don't think he actually bought out before it as well. So he lost a little bit of gold, then bought his items. And I really thought at the 3-minute 40 mark, he was going to TP to mid lane, refill Analog's bottle, and help him secure that water rune. Because now Nothing to Say is in a really solid spot against this Zeus to be able to farm out these next couple of waves really effectively.
You see the Zeus is really having a difficult time. We're just relying on his high right-click damage. Bottom lane, Xinkyu might be in some trouble, but Tali still has the jump on forward, so the use of the rebound closes the short distance, and another kill for them to be able to find Hokori. Double brace they've picked up already for the Marcy, so furthering how difficult it's going to be to deal with her in the lane. Coming out to her as well as the one. Has the base boost queued up, but I really like the other item, the infused raindrops that Vitali's got for himself. You know that you can consistently look to make kills happen in onto this Visage, so if you can just stop the turnaround from happening, that's going to go a long way towards your success in this game. Lumiere is... He's getting bodied by Arme, just consistently just chasing down the Morphling, trying to make sure he's unable to right-click and putting him at the high strength threshold where he doesn't have enough damage as well to play the lane. And yeah, you are a weak laner. You got to make sure that the harass is coming out consistently. An underrated aspect of the change is the increase to the mana cost per second on the attribute shit. So it means that you're not able to secure last hits quite as easily. You can't just approach the lane at all because you've got no mana to play with. Why Lumiere's going for that. His Falcon Blade? Never mind, he's just going the treads. I prefer this. But we saw that PSG.LGD with their rotations prior around the 4-minute mark was very impactful to try and slow down Analog. This time it's only going to be Theo Hokori, and it does secure the regen rune for the Zeus. It does have level 6 picked up very shortly as well, so the side lanes have to be cautious about their position. 2 1v1s happening up top. Gardic and Y battling it out. Me and Arme trying to push away Lumiere. But oh, this is unfair. Come on, you had 2 1v1s and now you're going to try... Creeps.
Mate, range creep scouts him out.
Gonna push close to Lumiere. They should be able to find Gardic into the tree line at least. They're gonna hit back though. Thunder God's Wrath getting a lot of benefit out of it, helping with the kill onto the Visage and being able to blow up the Lich as well. So Hokori, they'll be able to find kills across the map, and they're not even done. They're gonna continue to dive Xinkyu down bottom. Vitali just gets in range of the Dispose, chucks it back to Analog. A beautiful movement as Zeus kind of mirrors Nothing to Say's movement to the side lanes. Gives them level 6 as well, so with the siege creep they're going to be able to take that tier 1 tower on the bottom side. Leshrak's one of these heroes that actually does quite like to be able to farm inside of the Ancient's area if you're able to get him a few stacks up, so it's a big tower to take early on for Hokori. I honestly didn't think the lane was in a position for them to go for that attempt. It was right pushed with like 1.5 creep waves underneath the tower, but they went for it. The power of the Thunder God's Wrath just giving them the extra burst. This is scary now because you have to deal with a Master who's top of the net worth. Phase boots, I believe, getting delivered on the Hokori. Yeah, that's the case. Double brace up, working to the BKB is the next item. So yeah, they're going to be able to deal with the Marcy. They led it through the pool. They felt like the first phase, I should say, was enough, but he's had a completely free game. Potentially even make a move towards this mid lane. Vitali coming through for Nothing to Say.
rotate back to be able to play around that rune, and careful with your positioning, nothing to say.
They miss him a stun, but still toss back. One more right click. Vitaly gets him a farm. Meanwhile, top lane, Lumi is in a little bit of trouble at the moment. He has the wave bomb, but Xinqiu's in a great position to catch him out after the wave bomb, but he just walks away instead. So they will be unable to get the kill into the morph.
Put a lot of emphasis up onto this top lane, haven't they? Trying to shut down Lumiere as much as possible, but even with all of that, it's 300 net worth ahead of Ame right now, so in terms of Hokori, mission accomplished for this laning phase. They showed how great they were in game number 1. Sort of thing. It helps having a Marcy for sure, most busted hero of the entire patch, but they're executing. You got to execute correctly.
And they're doing just that. If they can continue though, that's the main thing, because they had a very good start to the previous game, but it fell a little bit short there. Another tower going their way.
Yeah, they even rotated wide for this. So with the Frost Shield, trying to slow things down a little bit, protect Leshrac, but he wants to be picking up a bunch of these stacks inside of his own jungle. They might have even seen if he was looking at his experience.
Vitaly gets a big solo kill. Let's see if they can turn it back around though. Jump away, and Vitaly's fine. Beautifully done. I mean, with the start that he's had here on the Master, if you can get some kills early into the back, really continue to slow down his game, but not the case here. Is now 5 members from Hokori up top, and they're eyeing up the carry here onto PSG.LGD. He's going to be able to get some distance off the back of the Time Walk, but where are the rest of the members on Dire? They're starting to make their way top, and Hokori will respect the reinforcements.
Low on nothing to say's mana as well, so whether it even chooses to commit to this or only responds if there is an aggressive attempt underneath Ame on the tower. Pressured back. They realized that they don't really want to farm. It was more of a just-in-case sort of rotation coming through from Xinqiu, as well as nothing to say. It's still all about protecting Faithian, making sure that he has a little bit of a better time. He's just being able to sit back down here on the bottom side, farm up 3 waves, completely uncontested, and he's almost into that Vladimir's offering, which is going to provide the amount of damage in the chrono to be able to get some of these kills happening with the Soul Assumption, with the Chain Frost, and with a Leshrac as well for that range damage potential.
Do we think the chrono is really that main thing we need to look for PSG.LGD to kind of hit back and slow down some of the momentum that's starting to be built?
I think so, but it's probably going to come around one of these key objectives. So if Hokori are able to keep the lanes pressured away from, you know, the mid tier 1 tower, the bottom tier 1 tower, there's never going to really be an avenue for the Chronosphere effectively, because it's still early on enough that by the time you win the team fight and push the lane out, people are basically going to be respawning already.
See smoke from Hokori.
Middle tower is under attack.
Gonna lock up some of these camps with his familiars as well. Keep an eye on.
Say, oh no, the hook shot might still enable him to get in range. He was holding down the Leshrac into place, but what a Defiance picked up from not for the say, so it just eats through the damage from the Zeus, and Xinqiu's also trying to wrap around as well, but he will not be able to get there fast enough. His bottom lane, Faithian close to the Teacher Tower, but he's still going to go down. Multiple TPs coming out from the Tiny along with the Leshrac, but they're too late to protect the Visage, and now with this information, they're going to go top. They know that 2 TPs were used, so yeah, Ame needs to get out.
Zerval's going to get planted down by Y. They've got pretty good coverage though, near the secret shop as well as their high ground, so it's all just about playing defensively. Theolacor going for the blind cookie jump, but it was already well gone.
What is that?
Isn't that nice? Isn't that balanced?
Oh my. Who gets the kill? It's going to be Lumiere. Let's give it over to Carry. Should we be concerned? Like, this is a 3,000 net worth lead for what we felt was a lineup on PSG.LGD that had to be ahead.
I think it have to be ahead, but they've also... Okay, yes, I would be concerned right now because Lumiere's uncontested. 2-0 and 0, top of the net worth charts. This is that movement that I was talking about before though, right? You move down towards the bottom side, you open up this tower, you enable a lot more pushing to happen on this bottom side of the map. It's enabled by the Vladimir's offering, and you just can't make any rotations down here. If Hokori instead, they're going to go into Roche. I quite like it. Again, just everything to give over onto Lumiere to make sure that he's not going to be giving up his life for free in these next few minutes, right? He can even look to play a little bit more aggressively near the tier 2 tower on the top side, use that pushing out with the Manta style, and forces a lot more defensive reactions coming out of PSG.LGD, which they don't want to do. They want to keep the pressure going.
It's under attack.
What are your thoughts if, I know they didn't, but what are your thoughts if they would have given the Aegis to someone like Vitaly?
I don't think it's needed, honestly. I think they're far enough ahead and Marcy is just strong enough that you shouldn't be dying for free. I think it's just much more important to enable Lumiere. Morphling is what is going to win you.
One thing I've always been impressed from with these tier 1 teams, and a big way you can kind of differentiate between a tier 1 and tier 2 team, is when they're able to read their power spikes and when they are just slightly ahead, and if they can enter the jungle and take over the enemy side of the map, or get a tower for free, or get Roche for free. Hokori now in both games have done just that. Like, these are very early Roches that we've seen out of Hokori in Game 1 and Game 2 now, and this is something that always been impressed for the tier 1 team. So this is a great start for them in this second game, and really just the overall, I think, run for them.
With the hook shot there, Xingqiu able to just get away. Mistakes like that would have led to potentially some pressure putting in onto the PNG tower. Never mind, Marcy.
What a hero. Alright. Oh my lord. 5,000 net worth.
I wonder what Xiaowei's doing right now. Is he just writing down ban Marcy as the biggest issue for this game so far? Because that laning stage went incredibly well. You've already opened up a nearly 1,500 net worth lead on Lumiere as opposed to Arme. You know, consider grouping up here on this top-hand side. I mean, why not? Keep the pressure going while you're strong.
It's under attack.
They see the TP coming through as well. Can they time it correctly for Xingqiu?
Lord, Xingqiu gets blown up. Another Thunder God. Scouts out that no one else is near Faith Beyond, so they're even going to drop them ultimate kisses. He resummoned on the familiar, so this is just free money given over to Hokori. The rest of PSG.LGD is starting to finally show up. They're going to be very separated for the moment, though. They've been able to address the snap fire over to the right side, though. Why, once again, isolated from the team. We'll see what the two cores. No, it doesn't look to be the case. They've got Chrono and still a decent amount of mana onto nothing to say, but looks like Hokori going to back up.
Will, but they're going to back up with the Manta style now completed on Lumiere. Sidekick essentially just heals him up to full in almost every single fight, right? All you need to do is retreat for a couple of seconds. It's almost as good as the Satanic, essentially, at the 15 or so minute mark of this game. And quick fire straight into the Aghanim Scepter after the fact for our Morphling. So able to continue this pressure up. I love the way that they're playing. You know, they're playing around the siege creep, they're playing around their vision, they're playing around the fact that there's no flip, Aegis. There's really nothing that LGD can do here.
I think for them, you're now looking for this Wraith Pack to be completed shortly for Faith Beyond. It's a very big item to be able to stall out some of the damage from Hokori in these fights, as once again they'll find another target and wire behind the T2 tower, which now secures a very big objective for them to claim the outpost. But yeah, I think for Dire, you're just looking to try and not feed away too many lives. You know, there's nothing to say. He's also getting a T1 tower mid with the ED, which will just be enough damage, it looks like. So
get them close to the Wraith Pack as well on the visit.
Nice away. Okay. Limmy's still playing around with the tiny replicate. Will be able to catch up. Almost a beautiful individual play coming out there from Xingqiu to get him out. But
I don't think they're going to read nothing to say. He was considering just keeping that wave shove from the other side of the map. He might look to get the next one as well, realizing that by the time they respawn, it's going to be able to give enough information to stop it. Yeah, okay. I mean,
Zame go for this wave. Oh, it's greedy. Oh, this is greedy. Oh, he's going to start backing off. It might be too late, though. They got the rocket planting too. Oh, what a perfect placement! Guarding, anticipating where Army was going to jump into the tree line. Beautifully done from the Clockwork. A great smoke from Hokori.
Everything is on point. You know, a lot of people clowning on SA Dota, but they have come here to play.
More of that.
Super impressive, cohesive with their movements, and I mean, this is what's always been strong about their playstyle, right? Another 30 seconds or so left on this Aegis, but it's accomplished what it needs to. It's taken away the top tier 2 tower. It means that Lumiere has much more space to farm. He's gotten it much closer towards that Aghanim Scepter for himself.
Keep jumping, but it's going to be playing off the back of the BKB, so there's no concerns for the Marcy. Can easily pick off nothing to say.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Even going to get closer and closer towards that basher as well for himself, which, you know, it's a good little bit of extra damage to be able to get through the Gravekeeper's cloak, but also maybe provide that surprise stun. Yeah, the Faceless Void isn't able to get the time walk away. Ame is still so crucial to all of LGD's chances here, and look to farm up a couple more creep camps, get their neutral items from tier 2. Respawn coming on, nothing to say. Actually, he really needs that Bloodstone. Level 2 ulti and the Bloodstone at about 300 gold. And then LGD might look to make their move. You got to do it before you reach this Aghanim Scepter on Morphling, because he's only 1600 gold away.
Yeah, I think one thing that PSG.LGD need to do in some of these team fights is just play off the back of how susceptible they're going to be in the tankiness from them. With the Frost Shield, with the Wraith Pact, and again with the Lesh going, the Hood and the Bloodstone. If Hokori can overcommit, I'll hold that thought, because top lane Ame, yeah, he's going to be able to chop the Chrono Speed before the attribute shift. Beautiful. What?
Oh my.
Hang on.
It was the tornado.
No way.
Hold on.
No way.
Still
Back
going.
to the tornado is why. Oh, what is this game, dude? You always have a hope, man, of killing off the Morphling, who's top of the net worth. Only, that was his first death. You would have got a big streak as well. Convert on the Chrono, which I don't even think we've seen in this game. And he dies to the lingering effect of the tornado.
Do you know how much damage that tornado does?
No, I don't. How much?
8. It does 8 damage, and that was able to kill him. Ridiculous that this like potential huge kill streak could have been given over. He still, of course, gets the unreliable gold taken away from him, but man, what a turnaround that would have been. What a big moment that could have been to potentially get closer to the Mjolnir on Ame's Faceless Void. And they committed very heavily for that as well. Minute and a half left on the Chronosphere. They see where he is because of the rocket flare. They'll try and potentially converge on through. Have the vision to place up onto the high ground. Doesn't seem like they do just yet. A bit more anxious about making this move up into LGD's ancient camp area.
This big Bruno for them to play with on the Hokori. Arcane can get that into the hands of the Zeus. That's his Z-Blade. They might go for the easy kill onto Shinkyu. Continuing to slow down this blink timing here for the Tiny, which is a big reason why I feel like LGD in these team fights need to play off the back of the counter initiation. You need to kind of hope that a Hokori expect you to be squishier than what they are. They overcommit into a team fight, then you turn it around with a big Chrono and kind of the damage coming through from the Chain Frost as well.
Rack it up!
I see that back. Dude, no way the Cyclone kills him there. That is just so devastating.
8 damage to potentially make Zhao 8 cry. I mean, how much more fitting does it need to be?
Blaze here!
Pretty fast respawn as well here for Hokori.
This is actually enormous for them, right? Like, you've just finished the Aghanim Scepter on the Morphling. You're going to have level 15 for that extra 16 seconds of the Morph duration, meaning that you're going to have that attack speed stolen for much longer. And then it's the second Roche as well. So you're going to have that attribute shift being able to be cast while stunned against 5 heroes that can stun you right now.
This is a gigantic ward that Hokori have in the mid lane. A position where we're probably going to see them smoke from, honestly, it looks like. How that PSG.LGD are grouping up, regardless, they're getting so much information from it.
They're desperate to try and get, well, actually they go. They realize that they've got to go for this attempt, but you don't have the Mjolnir finished up quite yet.
Radiant.
At least it's got the attack speed to find the pick-off.
It drops the wall, but the jump in from Vitaly. Shots him on the high ground instead, but it doesn't matter. LGD are crumbling, they're too far behind. Vitaly's onto nothing to say. He's got the artillery raining down from afar as well. Does PSG.LGD need to split away? Ame to the left side. He wants whatever farm he can get. They're starting to TP in. If the Morphling can be fast enough for the stun cancel, he is. Oh no, not again. Ame caught out. More TPs raining down. They'll catch up to the Faceless Void with ease. And now they can go back and get the second Roche as well.
Oh yes they can. There's that juicy Aghanim Shard just right for the pick and for Lumiere. Gaben smiling on Hokori today. The start it would be if they're able to close this one out. Taking a game off of LGD this early into a tournament. past, they've gone entire group stages while only dropping a single game, and for them to do it in Series 1, what a confidence boost it would give to the SA squad.
It's a gigantic thing, man. That is, if they can close this out, 15,000 net worth lead, honestly, they should be able to. Like we're saying, can they? This is a lineup where a Morphling late game, I really feel like will win them this game. Like you match up well versus the Faceless Void, you have those items, and importantly, he got a lot of experience off those kills as well. You just mentioned the level 15 talent, but also the level 18 was a really big thing back in the day with this Scepter Morph kind of game style. That still extra cooldown. Yeah, still is, exactly, it still is. So this is very big for Hokori here.
Yep, it essentially gives you 4 seconds of downtime, so it's like, well, Faceless Void, good luck right-clicking anyone, because you're only going to have 4-second window to be able to do it, and Hokori, they're going to understand that. They're just going to look to retreat underneath their own vision, they're going to look to play a little bit more defensively, and even if he lands the perfect Chronosphere, who cares? You know, you have no right-click damage, and you're still able to shift the attributes there. And it's not like they've got a Spirit Vessel either, so trying to take him down.
So I think the one nice thing for PSG.LGD is that they do have some pretty nice ways to defend the higher ground. It's really going to come down to this blink on Xinkyu. A blink toss back into a split earth or a familiar stun into the instant kind of extra control is how I can see them defending. Oh, even potentially blowing up Lumiere as well, but it's not enough damage.
That'd be a bigger kill.
Try it back onto Vitali. All right, a beyond broad-like streak for them to claim, and they want more blood. See if they can catch up, however, on Dire. Theolacor is going to try and get into the tree line. Xinkyu, oh, they didn't see him. Oh, they didn't see Theolacor. So you'll TP out, but you at least get the kill onto the Marcy. And yeah, so that was a Tiny that got the streak.
Really didn't need to be there, though. That's the thing. Like, you'd already been able to retreat there on the Morphling. He has the Aegis as well that you had to play around with. I was kind of thinking that Xinkyu was, if anything, going to go for a toss back, but how tanky this Morphling is right now, that might have just meant death for the rest of the team. So forcing a poor response out of Hokori might be the way to go for LGD right now if they're going to come back into this one. This might be one of the biggest comebacks of the tournament. And I know we're only in one series, but to bring this one back.
What if Ame dies? See him, Ame's in trouble. Oh, he's got a time walk out of the right side and use it to defensive Chronosphere. It's on to 3, but Vitali's going to chuck him out instead. You can't chuck your teammates out, but as long as you're close enough to be able to chuck up the Faceless Void, they'll get the kill and then easily go to the Tiny afterwards as God was in a perfect position to be able to capitalize on the positioning of Xinkyu.
Again, though, I mean, of course, it doesn't feel great to be able to give up your core, but nothing to say, doing his best to try and drag people towards the bottom side of the map. Lane very effectively with the Leshrac. He's got a siege creep to be able to play with, but they need to pump the glyph if you're going to try and defend this one up here. They've still got another, 15 or so seconds to be able to do it, so Void, back up line.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Be the fight that ends the game. Minute and a half left on that Aegis. Not yet level 18, so know that on LGD if they can make the jump onto the Morphling and burst him down twice.
There's the toss back. There's the stun. That's the outreach shift. Vitali's going to be in as well with the BKB. They've been able to cover Lumiere with the initiation. Ame has to cancel his TP as well. That's important for PSG.LGD. You force out BKB, kisses, and you stored out the Aegis, so you'll live to see another day.
Stall out the Aegis, 0 ultimates used as well on LGD's side. Essentially 0 cooldowns outside of the Wraith pack. So yeah, big win like you were saying before.
Radiant are scared.
Used, but who cares? Only 30 seconds cooldown on that one. It'll mean you get up to level 18, but the thing with high level Dota, you gotta give something to get something.
Is under attack.
I scan as well. I believe that was Radiance that caught PSG.LGD out of the map, so they do know something's happening. Xinkyu's going to reveal himself now. He didn't follow up though.
Incredibly good. Level 18.
Look at Ame's quick fire.
He just wants to be able to attack. He knows that all of that attack speed's going to be gone as soon as that Morphling shows in the team fight, so the play for him is LGD need to be the ones to make the jump, kind of like what we saw in game number 1, right off the back of Xinkyu, finding that pick-off and being able to get that Time Walk Chronosphere off. But I feel like the play for them is wait out this Aegis, get your next item for being able to increase your damage, and then chrono the Morphling, but don't actually attack the Morphling. It needs to be Morphling plus another, and then go on the rest of the team and try and make the team fight crumble around him so he doesn't have this supporting cast. Marcy and Zeus, they would be the prime targets, but you've got to make sure that the Morphling gets caught as well, because if not, he's just going to steal all of your attack speed.
Yeah, and it looks like Analog's already read that he's such a vital component to Hokori, because he's going for an Aeon Disc already. I'm very early on into the game that he's going to have this Aeon Disc to protect him.
Like it a lot. Want to make sure that you're not giving up any lives for free. Vitali, with some of those previous deaths, he's got the Blink Dagger as well, so maybe looking to try and get some of his own jump, not even relying entirely on the rebound, but once he gets into the Abyssal Blade, of course that's going to have the Vanguard component as well, which does a lot to help out against Visage Familiars, against the Faceless Void when he's right-clicking inside of the Chronosphere. Does feel like
Ame?
Okay. I mean, he realizes that it's not going to have many opportunities to be able to get a free kill, so take it while you can get it.
Tali's showing down bottom as well. Let's see if he can get the BKB off fast enough. The chain control coming out from PSG.LGD is just a little bit too slow.
Another BKB being used. It's still a 4v5, and the net worth lead isn't supposed to shrink once you've got the Aegis, and when you're this far ahead. It's gone from 16k, I think, way back down to 12, so GD, they make the magic happen again. They had a 9% win probability. It's just something in this game. You get the sense that they're going to be able to claw their way back.
Smoke could really help out, but again, it's going to be underneath another observer board.
Guarding's been on point with his warding this game so far.
They set themselves up. Guardic in a position where he can pop the smoke and instantly turn it back around. Just waiting to see what the power rune's going to be able to do. He has a DD as well if a fight does break out.
They might have been baiting that one, but a little bit too quick on nothing to say. Claiming it and gone away. You're happy on this if you're LGD. Just delay. 12k lead is now 10. Getting a little bit more out of the map. Already finished up the Moon Shard in addition to the Mjolnir. I'm sure that he's going to look to go for the attack speed in Chronosphere as well. On Ame as well once he reaches level 20. It does kind of feel like that's their next key timing. And it might link up around when Roche is set to respawn. Potentially only 20 seconds away. I'm feeling it's a longer one.
I think another one is you're looking at Faith Beyond if you can get this Hex at a decent timing. This actually gives you an avenue now to stun up the Morphling where he can't play with the attribute shift. So this is something that could really catch Hokori off guard. I wonder what the item's going to be after Faith Beyond, if he goes for like a Scepter to kind of help him get into the middle of these fights, but this is a really big item, and I think a game-changing one if you can get it shortly.
Yep. Not a super long Roche respawn, but not incredibly short either, about a minute and a quarter. Still be able to put some pressure out on the map, and all this time that Ame gets to be able to farm on his own away from the rest of the team, get a lot of that solo experience through, put pressures onto Hokori towers, and just using the familiars for that same purpose, right? Force them to have to come back, force them to have to make difficult decisions, because this is the area that they started to panic last game. This is where they got too tunnel visioned and all focused in on to nothing to say, and ended up giving up a big portion of their map. Gonna do it again this time. Tier 2 tower going down for free on the bottom side.
Illico, he's gonna face check the smoke on Shinkyu. Doesn't get any spells off, and now Hokori can look to jump back in. They've been able to blow up the Tiny. Vitali with the follow-up as well onto Guardic's initiation enables him to get rid of nothing to say. Quick pickoffs here for Hokori, and they might be able to crack the high ground now.
And indeed, that tower's sitting pretty low, so you're going to need to use the glyph really early here. Make them do it without it even being able to hit the creep wave if possible. Damage, and yep, there we go. To get maximum efficiency out. They might try and stick around just to be able to kill that tier 3 tower, but Shinkyu not giving them the possibility, still wanting that extra little bit of safety net that the additional armor provides with being able to fight underneath the tower. Every little bit counts at this stage of the game, but Roshan's back up, so Agate Scepter available. Who should give this to? I'd probably give it over to Marcy, right? Maybe actually. He's going Octarine course, so free Nimbus, that'd be pretty solid.
Yeah, I think Zeus or Clock I'd be pretty happy with.
Yes, you're a clock enjoyer now.
Without it, I think the Scepter is very, very strong. It doesn't look like it's going to be given over to Emerald though, so you've got the Nimbus down to work with.
A little bit of extra stuns as well. Don't hurt. Quite away from being able to get any sort of magic immunity on nothing to save Leshrac. Prioritize a lot more of his own survivability through his damage, through the Eternal Shroud, through the Bloodstone.
Why? Great positioning from the Lich. Beautifully done. But see, often with the Sage in Dota that we are, position 5 need to act as that bodyguard just so the carriers can get their farm and block the smokes. And while he's going to continue to make space, it'll take him quite some time to catch up because they're also looking to make a play on the opposite side of the map. Trying to bring down nothing to say up top, which they will be successful at doing so.
Okay. I mean, he did shove out the lane, so it's going to mean the extra 30 or so seconds until the pre-wave gets there. Time the wave actually reaches the tower, they might even have the luxury of having Leshrac back up and alive. Considers on Lumiere just going up onto this high ground and hitting the tower. That's about 76 damage, and yeah, I think that's the play.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
They are also stalking Arme as well. Just another solo chrono. Let's see if they can defend that without it. They're going to try and toss back. Morphling's okay for the moment. They'll get the Hex, but he already got the attribute shift off prior, so now Hokori. There's nothing that they really need to be concerned about.
Oh, he stopped the chrono!
Oh, no, he stopped the TP. So before he can't re-enter the fight now, let's see what Hokori want to do with this information. They're starting to back off for the moment. They'll give the cheese over to Lumiere. He can look to go back in with 3 minutes on the Aegis.
Yeah, why not? There's literally nothing stopping you from going inside the base. You don't have the Wraith Pact available, there's no Chronosphere, there's no Faceless Void. He's just being the bodyguard here, Garnick, saying, you're not getting back into this team fight, my guy. He's going to be
again, a toss into a stun. For the attribute shift, this goddamn accurate shot on the Morphling. Why did you give it to him? Why did you change the action? This hero is so done with it now, and you see LGD have no answers to it. Without the chrono, it's just up to the right clicks, but Arme just crumbles under the damage. As Hokori, it looks like they might have done it. And die back onto Y. All 5 are gone. Ultra kill for Lumiere, and the G's are dropped. As Hokori will take a 1-1 tie against PSG.LGD.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought going into today with the probably least favored team in terms of likelihoods to win TI, taking out multi-time Grand